With this, we have the rest of Asia being basically just up for grasp. So with this, we see North America continuing to be North America and taking out some of the Baltics. We see Europe taking over the southern part of Ukraine, and they take over a pretty useless port. You've probably never heard of it. It's probably like nothing serious going on there in the real world. Yeah, definitely nothing. They end up connecting with North America and continue to take out the rest of Eastern Europe. They take over all the rest of all of Russia, and Africa decides to take the rest for themselves, going into Czechoslovakia, Hungary, parts of Poland, and parts of Sweden. And now Europe is basically done with, except for one singular port, which is up in northern Russia. We see this being known as Asia's Vietnam, even though Vietnam is in Asia, as it's very well defended, and they're actually able to make a decent push. Um, North America decides to just take over Indonesia in the time being, as no one really knows what to do. They're kind of just at peace at this moment. So that's happening. With this, we do see the fall of Oceania, though. Yeah, yeah. So with this, none of the continents really know what to do until something happens. We see a new power coming into the play. I'm gonna make it hot pink, but trust me, it's not Europe. How much is that? That's different. Okay, that's different. It sums up in Iran, and we basically have a Neo-Persian Empire. It's very it's kind of like a minor scale Taliban, I guess you could say. They take over Yemen and Oman as well as most of the they take over all of the Persian Gulf actually, and they start to take over parts of the Red Sea by pushing into Africa and Asia. With this, we have the Neo-Persian Empire. I'm going to call it. Decided to make an alliance with Europe. Eventually, we do see the Persian Empire splitting Europe into two, and they're trying to do it again. Not Europe, Asia. Frick. We also see Europe getting a pretty good scale on this, even though they're not in Europe anymore. And then the rest of the continents decide to just mutilate them violently. We see the Persian Empire being kicked out of Persia and Europe being kicked out of Asia. That sounds weird out loud. The reason why I made this happen though, is we see a mild border skirmish as Africa goes in to take out the Neo-Persian Empire, leading to a war between Europe and Africa. Africa says that they will make peace if Asia pulls out of Africa, which they don't. So yeah, now this is happening. We see Africa basically having used all their resources, and North America being the only one with a stable amount of stuff remaining. With this, North America decides to side with Africa as they want to just be presumed as not racist by the Twitter community. So with this, we see something very similar to Imperial Australia taking over south of Southeast Asia until they eventually get all of it. North America decides to take push into parts of Europe by using their American Europe part. Yeah, American Europe. Why not? Part. We see them being able to split the continent into two, and plans to divide it are already made with Africa and North America. We see Africa going into Turkey and taking over most of it, and then we have them taking over the rest of Southern Europe. They accidentally take over part of America. I didn't mean to do that. And eventually, it's going to be sold to look something like this, with Africa getting their old territories back as well. We have North America sweeping through Europe until almost all their resources are out, but it's okay because by now, Asia has surrendered, at least in their actual Asian parts. We see Africa trying to make an advancement, but it doesn't go too well, as all they basically have is manpower now. Um, Asia makes a desperate dash to capture oil fields, which they're able to do so successfully. We start to see the fall of Africa and another rise of Europe. They're able to do this just by a very damaged Africa. We see them even pushing into Persia, taking it over again, and Afghanistan and Pakistan, as well as southern India. They're able to take over Sri Lanka and push up into the Caucasus. Now, they're kind of just fighting out of desperation and to stay alive, kind of like Napoleon tactics, I guess you could say, but it's working. Eventually, Asia decides to develop a plan to make a somewhat of a coastal empire. So with this, they redraw some troops, leading to a bit of a pushback on land, but this is okay for them. They take over some islands, and they continue their plans for a coastal empire only. They don't really need much resources until the rest of the continents realize what's going on. But at this point, it's too late. North America decides that the only way it's going to be able to get resources to fight Asia is to betray their best friend Africa. So with this, we see a surprise attack of America onto African troops, taking over their European part, leaving the rest of it to Asia. We see Asia realizing this and quickly pushing into Africa, taking as much as they can from it, and then North America takes the rest of it. We do see a very small semblance of Africa over in Greece, which is taken over by Asian forces. So now we just have two more continents remaining, but we do see one more rebellion. It's kind of redundant at this point, but I don't care. It is a Goose Rebellion in Canada. I've already done this video before, but I don't really care. The geese are able to take over all of Canada and parts of America, taking over the rest of Alaska. Eventually, the entire world decides to turn it onto the geese. Asia makes a landing in Alaska, which wasn't agreed on, but whatever. And North America is able to take back their territory. Well, at least most of it, that is. So now these continents really don't know what to do, and they decide to sign a temporary truce. After about 12 years of resupplyment and refueling, recharging, resupplying, I already said that, but whatever, we see both the continents being about equally matched. We have America firing the first shot as they start to take over the coast of Africa, which they're able to do. They're able to take over the Suez Canal, which works great for them, and they split Asia from the rest of Greece. With this, they push down. We do see a minor Balkan rebellion, mainly of like old, mainly of African troops and stuff. But it's the Balkans, so they just kind of let this happen. Except until they do this, because then it's split up. We do see the eventual push down of North America onto Asia, and eventually Asia has an idea, and that is to launch another spring offensive. After converging their troops into Southeast Asia, we see it happening. These are very sudden jumps, and they very much weaken North America, and it's even able to cause a massive encirclement. We then see Asia's massive plan being activated, and that is to withdraw some troops, so they can encircle this massive part of Asia. With this, they do take over some islands in former Oceania, and they launch their plan to action using lots of their troops. They eventually are able to take over the rest of the coastal areas, and now America's kind of screwed. They don't really know what to do. The biggest encirclement in history is almost completed, and now it's fully encircled. No sea access, no nothing. Eventually, we see the collapse of Asia just collapsing on this one part, and with this, North America decides to go on the decides to reverse them, I guess you could say. They take over the Balkans again, and they push them out of Alaska and southern Africa. Now, with this, the resources are just dead. No one has them anymore. So with this, we do see eventual peace coming between the two continents. Asia will receive this land from the world, and North America will receive this land from the world. So now it's just two main powers, and the world waits for their steady but extremely slow collapses. As there's nothing really to do, and the main group that's going to be taking them out is a certain group known as INSOC.